have the New York Football Giants. They went 6-10 last year as well, along with the Cowboys. They did miss the playoffs. Saquon Barkley got hurt the first game of the season, basically making, I think, the New York Football Giants team better and more well-rounded going on to the 21 season. But we will talk about that when the schedule comes out and we make our way too early predictions here. But Wyatt, who was the best draft pick for the New York Giants?
Yeah, so here you go. You guys wanted me to not go with a first rounder, so here it is. Bang, bang. Second rounder, Azeez Ojulari, defensive end out of Georgia. The guy was projected to be a first round pick, a great defensive end, tore it up in the SEC. He had quarterbacks legitimately running away from him, and I love his name, Azeez Ojulari. Can't go wrong with that one, right? But
No.
he's a really good defensive end, and I think he's going to be a great player in this draft. And once again, a steal. He should have been a first rounder. I had him in a couple of my mocks throughout the year, going in the first round, late first round. And I think he's another guy that has the potential to be a top 10 player in this draft. And like I said, they got him in the second round, so a big steal there for him.
Yeah, they got him in the mid-second round as 50th overall pick, so definitely a steal, dropping out of the first round here. But, Tori, who do you have as your best pick for the New York Football Giants?
So I really didn't pick a player. I have them trading down twice and picking up all them additional picks is their best draft pick. They got all that additional capital. They've traded down twice. They still got the players that they targeted and that they wanted. I cannot fault that whatsoever. Just because the Giants had probably the second best draft behind the Cleveland Browns in this draft.
So trading down, Tori, that is why I like you, just because you think outside the box, and that is a great answer because very, very few people are going to realize they traded down twice to get three or four more picks when they only had three.
If you
three
know
picks that
anything
draft
about
anyways.
David Gettleman, he usually trades up. He's been known to trade up. He never has traded down until this year, and he made two great moves within the very first one within his own division.
Right. So with that being said, who was the worst pick for the New York Giants, Tori?
I don't have one because their draft was that great. As I said, their draft addressed every single need that they had. They are a team that literally it'll hinge this year on Daniel Jones. If Daniel Jones takes a step forward, you're looking at a really good young team for about the next 5 or 6 years. If he doesn't take a step forward, you're looking at them drafting in the top 10 again next year and probably taking one of the quarterbacks. So outside of that, I think they addressed every other need they had. They went after all the players that they needed. The only thing I really didn't think they needed, the one thing I was like, oh, what do they need a receiver for? What did they do in the first round? They got a receiver. So they proved me wrong at every point, and the more I look at their draft class, the more impressed I am with it. They did not do anything wrong in this draft in my book.
Yeah, and I think Tooney was probably the steal of the draft. I think he has the most upside as receiver in the in this year's draft class. So who was the Giants' worst pick in your eyes?
Man, you guys are gonna hate me for this one. Kadarius Toney, wide receiver out of Florida.
Really?
Yes, I don't mind Kadarius. I think Kadarius is a good wide receiver. I just don't think I think he's a little overhyped. I don't think that at 20 that was the pick. Rashad Bateman would have been a better pick right there. And he was still on the board, as well as I think. Not only do I think that it was the wrong wide receiver, I think that it was too high to pick Kadarius. Even if there was a better receiver option, I think Kadarius is. We saw Elijah Moore and all of them slip into the second round. I think Kadarius Toney had some potential to slip into the second round. So, like I said, I think Rashad Bateman was a better option right there. I think that I like it. Like I said, I like Kadarius Toney. I just think that it was a little too high for Kadarius, and I also think that it was the wrong wide receiver.
So before we give our draft grade, Drew comes up and says that they didn't draft any offensive linemen. They're leaving everything on Danny Dimes' shoulders, which they honestly they should. I mean, everything falls on your quarterback's shoulders. But they had a pretty good offensive line, anyways. There was really no holes to fill on that offensive
Yeah,
line.
they didn't have their offensive line was actually pretty solid last year.
Yeah, it was decent.
The only reason why Saquon got hurt is just a freak accident. Sometimes your ligaments give way and things happen. It's just wear and tear on the body. As the Tori, I believe you are the one that says there's a lot of tread on those tires, or not a lot of I'm not allowed to tread on those tires. Isn't that your little saying?
Yeah, usually it works either way.
So with that being said, Wyatt, what grade would you give them?
Man, me and Tori are gonna go polar opposites here. Tori's gonna go somewhere on the A or B range. I'm going D. I was really at the prospects where they got all of them. I was really not impressed. I thought the best pick they had, and it was really, in my opinion, the only pick that was a B plus pick, was Aziz Ojulari. I think that was really the only one that caught my eye, and I was like, wow, hey, that was a good pick. I do agree they had a good offensive line last year. I still think they could have addressed a couple of issues on the offensive line. But I really, I liked that they traded back. I think it was good that they stacked up on some picks, but I think they went way wrong with the wide receiver. I think they went way wrong with, which wide receiver it was and where they drafted that wide receiver. So if they were looking for Kadarius Toney, then they should have traded down even further. I mean, they like I said, they could have got Kadarius Toney probably at the 30 spot, 32 spot, maybe even into the second round. It all depends. So I give him a D.
Well, on the opposite side, that why I am going to defend the Giants a little bit. When you have your guy and you want your guy and he falls into your lap, you have to pick your guy. So I'm not faulting them for that whatsoever. So Tori, what do you give them grade wise?
So first, I'm going to give Wyatt a D's nuts because a D is way too low. So, no, they had a great draft. They traded back. They picked up another first rounder next year. So based off that alone, they're getting an A. You can't give them anything but an A. They addressed their needs. They made their football team way better, and they picked up another first rounder for next year. Where do you give them you can't give them a D.
I'll tell you what.
That's like saying
I'll give him a C. I'll give him a C because you're right. They did collect a pick for next year, so I will correct myself. I will move it to a C.
So you are basing your grade from what Tori said because they picked a pickup for next year.
No, I'm just saying like I said a minute ago. I do think that it was good that they had traded down and stuff. I did like those moves. I think that those were good moves. And Aziza Ojulari, I mess that every single time I mess that up. So I don't think that was a bad pick. So I'll tell you what, I'll give him a C minus.
All right, so C minus and
so
an
we've
A.
had a D, a C, and a C minus. Which one is it, Waffles?
D
It's
plus.
a C.
It's
C minus.
It's
all
a D
the same.
plus.
You know what I'm talking about.
D equals diploma, guys. D equals diploma. That is all we